Brian, it's here. It is the DBNI grand finale of 2022. How are you feeling today?
Kevin, this has been an entire season that has been building on this idea of doing a Diplomacy Broadcast Network Invitational, where we wanted a tournament of champions where we could bring together winners and people who have scored well consistently across the seasons from formats from every single major way to play in the hobby. I expected to get some participation, but I never thought that it would grow into something like this. And the quality of players that we have this year are among the best that I've ever seen anywhere. And to have them all come together from every single format into one event, and now we've got those 28 have knocked out to the top 7. We're going to see those top 7 fight it out for who comes on top. To me, this is what diplomacy is all about.
I just listening to you right there. I know the thing that drives this tournament, this invitational, is the players. And I'm lucky enough to sit down today with all of the Super 7 heading into the top board. What are you looking forward to possibly hearing from them?
Well, first of all, I hope they're hungry. It's always entertaining to me to hear interviews with diplomacy players because they've got this false humility script that they all seem to read from. But when it comes down to it, almost everybody who plays this game, they tend to be social and they tend to be hyper competitive. So I am really hoping in these interviews that we get a little bit of genuine flavor and not just boilerplate. I mean, I understand trying to set it up and be nice for the regular season, but this is it. Like, there's no sense in trying to impress anyone. Every single player on this board wants to win. No need to hide it.
The best part is what you are expecting in these interviews is what you're going to get. I can't tell you how shocked I was to hear a hungrier 7. This board is going to be unbelievable. Brian, I know you have to get ready to host the big show in about an hour, so let you get to it, and let's get to the players.
Kevin, just thank you so much for putting this together. As you said, the players are the highlight of diplomacy. That's what makes this game so special, and it is very special that we have the opportunity to hear from each of them.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, get out of here and let's get to the game. I am very lucky to have the time to do that with Brian today, and I am looking forward to our first interview tonight. Fittingly, we have to include Brandon Fogle in the initial conversation. One of the founders of DBN and a fantastic player who I've gotten to know over the last 6 years here in Chicago, decided to pull out the knife this year and try and compete. So here is an interview with Mr. Fogle.
Great to be here.
So you're the lowest seed that made it? Is that right?
I think so. There might be one person below me. I'm not sure.
Oh, Katie was 14. I'll have to go look. I mean, I'm sure that you were sitting in this chair last year doing these interviews, planning for everything, producing everything, and you were looking at these guys going, gosh, I can beat them. Is that why you're here? Is that why you're here?
You know, I say that with everybody. In my own head, anyway. I don't know. I don't have any doubts about my ability to compete with anyone in the world. So, why did I play this year? Well, I wanted to play the league. I really like league play, and so Brian and I divvied up the responsibility. He did the coverage on the league stuff, and I did coverage on the tournaments. So that left the leagues open for me to play, and I love league play, and I seem to do well when I know the players. This was true in the Weasels as well. When I first joined, for the first 5 or 6 months, I did not top a board, and then everything clicked. I mean, I was learning how to play better as well. I was developing as a player, but then everything clicked, and it was lights out from there. And so league play kind of suits me And I got into the DBNI on the strength of that one competition.
Well, speaking of everything clicking, you made it to the Super 7. Two interesting boards. One, you kind of struggled in the beginning, and the second, you had a little more freedom. What sticks out most about the preliminary games?
So the first game was definitely a lesson in frustration. I was Germany, and I formed a solid FG with Greg Matthews, is a well-known extended deadline player who's trying to make a foray into the virtual face-to-face world. And we attacked Karthik. We had him on the ropes, and then Greg turned on me, and I was naively not expecting it. And so he got some position, didn't get very far, and we ended up sort of stalemating for a while. And then the East broke, and Greg and I could not figure out how to disentangle. Then there was this hilarious thing where where Greg and Karthik were teaming up with the East against Subby and me. And the East advanced so far. Italy had fleets in North Sea and Norwegian and Barents. That Subby and I then went to the two players in the East who were Jason Massbaum and Tim from Florida, and then we got them to let us be on their side, and we were helping them against Karthik and Greg. It was ridiculous. Jason then stabbed Tim and got up to 16, and then we all sort of convinced Jason to take the solo, or to pass up the solo and just end the game, so we could all have a little bit of a small score, which ended up mattering quite a bit. In round 2, I was now Italy to Jason Massbaum's Austria, which was a redux of the VDL Championship board, where Jason and I tried to get along. In my opinion, Jason was distrustful of me, and that slowed things down. I'm talking about the VDL Championship board. And then I ended up having to turn on Jason in order to just survive and get dots. I ended up rebounding from a poor position in there to have a shot to win, which I did not, because Nicola Sergey ended up topping that board. But so then in my second round here, I ended up in Italy to Jason's Austria. And a similar dynamic happened where Jason and I started out really well, and then we hit this turn in fall of 03 where he thought that I was going to stab him, and he covered his dots instead of continuing the attack against Turkey. And that caused me to lose a center. And I didn't have to pull a center because I happened to get one in the West through invitation from Matt Krill, who was under siege from Riaz and Tommy Anderson, Tornado Tommy in Germany. But that changed the dynamic with Jason and me. It slowed me down and also made me distrust him. And so 2 years later, I end up stabbing him. And it wasn't a great stab, but I had help from Liam Stokes in Turkey, who always has creative ideas. I love working with Liam because he is tactically ingenious. And he came up with this strategy to have me convoy his army into Albania, which I did. And with Subby and Russia's help, we took out Jason very quickly. And then this interesting thing happened at the very end of the game where I was up to 12, and that put me at 146. And I was looking ahead to round 4, and I thought that 146 was probably good enough, but I wasn't sure, and I wanted to remove all doubt. And so I pushed Subby very hard for an extra 2 dots, which would get me up to 166 and above Jason Massbaum. And Subby was not happy about it. And it was clear that I could take it if I wanted to anyway. But I really, really didn't want to have to do that. And Subby eventually relented, which caused them a lot of grief from the rest of the board, Riaz especially. And boy, am I glad I did that, because this is a board that I want to be picking higher up on. And I am much happier at the 3rd seed than I would be at the 5th seed.
You're mentioning a lot of the players in your prior round games that will be on that you've played with in the past as well. You haven't, again, you mentioned that being on DBN, you haven't been in as many games. You're clearly aware because of media interactions with these players. But what's the difference between media or DBN Brandon and player Brandon?
People perceive me when I'm broadcasting to be a very stab-happy person, because I celebrate stab. It's entertaining to be I think people are generally too conservative in the hobby. They like to take safer routes, which often means smaller board tops or shared board tops. And people sort of fetishize alliances, and this leads them to deprioritize their own needs in some cases, to their own detriment. But they also just pass up opportunities, and so that pains me a little bit when I see that as a broadcaster. It pains me to see people putting their needs below others, or just not having the guts to grab the opportunity when it's present. So I celebrate going for it when I'm broadcasting, and that leads people to. And I also like the drama, right? I like the drama of the stabs. So so that's just sort of fun and entertaining. As a player, though, like the people who played with me in the VDL, some of them in the beginning were surprised to find that I'm not a chaotic at all, and I don't stab very readily, and I generally don't lie. Like I'm really not a manipulative or treacherous or mischievous player. I like to form relationships with people, and I like to listen, and I like to hear the other people's suggestions, and it becomes a real working partnership. The difference, however, is the difference between that and the kind of alliances that people talk about when they talk about alliance play is that I don't forget my own needs. I don't put my needs below the other person's. And I remember that we are equals in a sharing relationship. Just like friendships require people to take care of themselves while also taking care of the other person, so do diplomacy relationships. And I honestly think that is the most important thing that I do on the board. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at reading a board. I'm good at making strategic considerations. I'm a pretty good tactician, not amazing. There are definitely people who are better tacticians than I am. But in like forming good working relationships, respectful and sort of pleasant, people find me like easy to work with, and I think that's a little different for some other top players who people find just difficult. And yeah, so that's I think probably the most surprising difference that people would find between me as a player versus how I seem to be as a broadcaster.
So we look forward to seeing how you're going to manage that, and we'll see if we can get you where you usually are at the end of a broadcast, signing off, but this time with you as the champ. So congrats on getting here, and DBN certainly will be rooting for one of its own, but probably Ed Sullivan. Good luck this weekend, Brandon. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. You have a great one.
We have to have a little fun with Brandon because I was certainly biting my tongue, having been stabbed. Let's not say stabbed, attacked by him many times in Weasels games, but rooting for Chicago's and DBN's own for sure. So speaking of DBN's own, and the other one is we have next up is Ed Sullivan. Ed is the comic genius here with the Broadcast Network, and certainly doesn't hold back in his preparation for yet another top board. So let's hear from Ed. And I am here with coming into the Invitational. I think it was 10th seed. And now into the Super 7 as number 7, Ed Sullivan. Ed, welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. It was never in doubt. Just glided right in.
Wait. Never in doubt? What was the differential between 7 and 8?
Just enough to make it.
There you go. That's a very diplomatic answer. Well, you made it. So your first board was talked about on air with a little discussed by either every analyst and every member in the chat.
Makes me happy.
How did So how did the 11-11-11 come about?
Okay, so remember my interview before the semis? I don't play for DBN. I play for myself and within myself. So I know what I can do well, and I'm fairly good at leveraging people. And I had a good argument to each, which is, look at last year. If you split a top, all you have to do is come in second in your second game, and you're going to make it. And then you can go make a pitch for an alliance in your second game by just saying, I have no reason to board top, but I'd like to be second. So let's go to work together, and I will work for you to get your centers that you need to make it. And then I'll just slide on by. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly the plan I had. Worked for me. It worked for Sarin. Unfortunately, it didn't work for Riaz. But I think if you'd been playing on day 2, maybe you would have had a better chance than or the fourth game rather than the third. He just didn't know what score he had to put up.
Yep. So plan part A worked to perfection. How did that sales pitch then go in game 2?
Well, the field is narrow at 28 people. So the person who was the 1 in the 11-11-11-1, who I'm going to take a lot of credit for grinding down into 1, happened to be my neighbor, Ruben Sanchez. So he wasn't very happy with me after game 1, which is understandable. And then my other neighbor was Vincent Roulet. So both of those guys had been playing with each other for years. I hadn't played with either one of them ever before. And I made the pitch to both of them, and it really didn't work for years. Just like last year, I made the pitch to Tanya and Farron. I made it harder to Tanya than Farron, but they decided not to take me up in the offer, and I was knocked out. And only one of Tanya and Farron made it. Farron knocked me out, and she deservedly got on last year's DBNI top board, and obviously this one. But I was determined that my pitch last year was the right one and the correct one, and I came in this time saying it has to be the right one, and I think it was. Eventually, Vincent bought it.
So you made it. You're ready. We've got an earlier time for you than for a few of the other players. What's your pregame meal going to be?
I'm going to go down into a local neighborhood in Houston and have some nice breakfast tacos in the morning with a cup of coffee, catch up on the horrifying news around the world, and generally relax and just have my mind think on other things, and just be ready to come in and be myself, which I think being older helps me in a way because I don't have to try and be anybody else. I know who I am. I know what I can do. I know what I can't do. And I'm here to have fun. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think this might be as fun as it gets.
Well, so knowing what you can and can't do, you're the 7th seed. So you're probably not going to have much of a choice in powers or neighbors. Speaking of who are you looking forward to being nearby, and who do you not want to see?
Well, I know you want me to say I don't want to be near Farron, but the answer is I care who I'm next to. I just messaged everyone that they're a blank slate as far as I'm concerned, and we're all just going to play the board and the pieces as they develop. No interest in talking about the game or anything else like that. And that's the way I feel about it, which is I've played with everybody on the board, except I haven't really had a great opportunity to play with Nicola Sergey. We've been on the same board a couple of times, but on opposite ends. I have a pretty good understanding of what each person is going to do and how they play, and I'll just use my abilities with who are there. So I assume I'm going to be Turkey. I've only been eliminated once as Turkey in the last 2 years, but I've never topped. And so I'm hopeful that I don't get eliminated and that I do top. So I got to do 2 for 2.
Well, so your performance this year, though, doesn't seem to be that you top. You haven't had a solo or a lone top since June, and you had 10 shared tops this year. Now, granted, with the 7th seed, you'd get the tiebreaker, but getting to that top, getting to that win, what's it going to take?
It's going to take a lot of grit and determination, but there can't be any sense or signs of panic. And I think if I panic in my voice, or if I make it look like I'm desperate, which sometimes turkeys do, that's just gonna give a blood rush to my neighbors. I have to act calm at all times. If I can get to the mid game, I'll be fine. The tiebreaker is never going to come into play in a non-time limited game. Someone's going to play until they they win. So I don't view it as anything. I'm just viewing it as I have to play Turkey, and that's fine with me. Hey, I got on the board, so I have a 11% chance. Given the statistics, 11% is better than 21 other players' chances right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly rooting for you as a fellow DBNer here, and we'll see what happens on the board. It's going to be a good one. So thanks, and we'll hopefully see you in the winner's circle afterwards.
Thanks. I'll be happy to be there.
We had a good time with Ed, and at the end of the broadcast, we'll have some more fun with him as well. So Ed was kind of the first one to lead us off on a drive to win this. Brandon's was a little more diplomatic, but maybe his first soiree in the DBNI leads him to be a little more political. Ed certainly was ready to go for the win. So speaking of Ed's partner on that last round game that he played, Katie Gray is making her first top board appearance. Katie's had some great success to start the season, and her rookie year as well. There's a couple rookies on this board. Katie said she's a little nervous going into the top board. I forgot to mention it on air with her, but said she's a little nervous, and we'll see how that treats her. But having the number one seed always helps. So let's hear from Katie right now. I am thrilled to be here right now with coming into the Invitational. I think it was 14th seed. Is that right? But coming into the final, the number one seed, Katie Gray. Katie, welcome.
Thanks.
So you had probably a very memorable last round game, but it was overwhelmed by a game that lasted 10 years longer than yours. To kind of overshadow it. So coming in as number one, you're maybe still an underdog. What is the best way to summarize your preliminary games?
I think I trusted the people that I needed to trust in the preliminary games. The first round, I had an AT with Farron, and I was Austria, and that's always really risky. And I remember thinking, I'm losing the ability to take this game into my own hands. And I'm placing a lot of faith in my ally. And that's something that I do a lot in diplomacy. And, it worked out. I mean, to her credit, Farron did everything that a Turkey can do to make Austria feel comfortable. And we still had a lot of, sort of tense conversations about how things were going. But in the end, it worked out well. And yeah, in the second game was looking dire for a few years. I was Russia with England Army in St. Pete and St. Pete and Norway, and there were German fleets in Baltic, and I think maybe Bothnia even. It was looking dire, and then McCullough in Italy came to me and was like, "Do you want to make a sort of suicide push to try to make something happen here?" And I said, "Sure, let's go for it." And so we took out Austria and then took care of Turkey, and yeah, it was kind of just a moment where I felt like I had to do something to change how the game was going. And then, put a lot of faith into McCullough's Italy, and that worked out too. So I think I did a good job of knowing when to trust people. Yeah, hopefully I can continue to make those sort of good reads of people.
Were you aware of where you stood when you were making those, not deals in the second game, but coming in with a second place result, you knew you needed a score in that last board to get there? What was kind of managing the game and then the game within the game like?
Yeah, so when Italy and I, with Turkish help, when the three of us stabbed Austria, I knew that I needed a board top to get to the final round, or something ridiculous like, I don't know, 15 centers, not top, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So I pretty much knew I needed a board top, and I knew I wasn't going to get there by sort of playing patient and hoping that Nicola and Austria didn't, eventually get bored and kill me. So I definitely, that had a pretty big impact on the decision that I made in deciding to go for it. And then I didn't realize what score I needed exactly towards a little bit later in the game. I think the first time I ended up topping the board at 9, someone said, "By the way, this pretty much gets you in top board." And I was like, "Oh." So I wasn't paying that much attention to the score in particular. I just knew I needed a pretty good result.
Excellent. Well, now that you've got the result, you're going to be prepping as we go into Saturday's grand final. What's the meal of choice going into what potentially could be another long game?
I don't really know what that question means.
What's your power breakfast? Everyone's got to get
literal food.
Yeah. Sorry, like real meal. Like everyone's got their breakfast of champions. What's Katie's?
I find it really hard to eat before diplomacy games. I get a lot of butterflies. I get very nervous. For morning games, I always have coffee, which doesn't help. And I think this game is going to start at around noon my time. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have some granola or something.
I've gotten some good answers so far. So we're going to see if we can piece together a Super 7 meal with what y'all play. Because the way you've been playing this tournament, I am looking forward to this top board. You've got the choice on where you want to pick, who you want to be next to. Do you have a sense of who you'd want to be by or be against, since you're more on the newcomer side of this board?
I don't think I have any enemies on this board. I've gotten along with people off the board and on the board with most people at some point or another. I've never played with Nicola, but I think other than him, I've played with everybody. If I ended up between two people who don't get along, that would be kind of nice. There's always little factors, but I have been told, don't be stupid, pick first, pick France. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. So I think it's going to be up to sort of everybody else, who gets what power and who everybody's neighbors are.
Excellent. Well, you've had a great season. You started with, I think it's second or third place in your first tournament and a win in your second. And now to end the season, a chance to win the biggest prize in virtual diplomacy. So we wish you all the best and hopefully chat with you in the winner's circle on Saturday night.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Katie. Katie's been so much fun to chat with during the whole process. It's been a couple week long process. Certain people we'll interview had a freer ride. Katie kind of struggled, but came out as number one. So we'll see how she follows through with her plan as we get to the next broadcast coming up here in about 30 minutes. So speaking of her ally from round one, we only have one player from last year's Super 7 that made it to this one, and just staggering results all around. So really had fun chatting with Farron Jane. We do want to celebrate how you got here. So you had a board top in your first game, so you were fairly confident, I assume, heading into round two, and did what you had to do to get on the top board. Tell us about the first round games.
So in the first game, I had Katie in Austria, and I had Matt Krill in Russia, and they both came to me and they both expressed a lot of interest in working with me very early. Italy also came to me and expressed interest, but Turkey-Italy is just really hard to work. I like weird and wonky alliances, but Turkey-Italy is hard. Yeah. So Katie and I went through that game. There was a lot of tension. Like we definitely kept each other very honest with our positioning and how we negotiated. But we ended up working out together pretty well. I ended up topping that board, and she ended up obviously making it to the top board herself, which I'm very happy about. But it worked out. And then going into the second game, I like EF, obviously. I've played France on a few top boards, and it's always gone disastrously for me because the E always stabs me. But I keep doing EF anyways. There's probably zero chance to get France in the number 5 spot, so it's not going to matter this time. But Karthik was in England, and Tim was in Germany. And Tim came to me immediately and was like, let's do a Sea Lion. And I told him, I don't know about doing a Sea Lion. That's very quick. I don't see a reason to go very quick in a time-limited game, but we can definitely position in that direction. Karthik came to me and kind of suggested going after Germany. So my neighbors are suggesting attacking each other with me helping them. So that's great for me. And so I was pretty free at that point to work with whoever I wanted to work with on that. So I walked away with 59 points, 5th seed going into the top board, which isn't great, but you know, hey, the top board, I can't complain, so I'm happy.
So this one is going to be amazing because this top board has 7 players from 7 different time zones. Like, you are the earliest one in the morning by far. So what our next question is what is your pregame meal, and does that change given how early you're getting up for the game?
So I'm an early riser anyway. I'm very used to getting up early in the morning, for obvious reasons, I think. So really my plan is just to make sure I go to bed very early the night before, try to get at least 8 hours of sleep, wake up, have some coffee, eat something sweet, just because it makes me, I like eating sweet things. So yeah, have some coffee, eat something sweet, nice little morning snack, and go into the game feeling happy. That's my plan.
That sounds like a good way to start the day. I'm a sweets for breakfast too, so I like that. Get a little edge to start the day. So speaking of an edge, you're, like I said at the top of the interview, the only one to make it back to back. I think you've been on nearly every top board of every major championship that you've kind of qualified for. You didn't play in either VDL league, but the World Champion, the Summer Classics, all these big targets. There's a lot of targets, but I think, my opinion, yours is the biggest. How do you deflect that and get your way to the top?
So yeah, I mean, it's. I was looking back, and it's kind of weird to look at, but every tournament that I've played in that's had a top board, literally every tournament, I've been on that top board, and it's kind of a crazy record. I mean, it's going to break at some point, but it hasn't yet. But no, I feel very happy, and I feel very I don't know, blessed sounds weird, but I'm glad that I'm able to continue to have this strong performance. And I think a lot of it comes down to people tend to like me. And so people talk about deflecting attention. And I don't think my strategy is to deflect attention. I think my strategy is instead to rely on the reputation. Like in that first game with Katie, I didn't deflect my attention. Like I've had games with Katie previously where we worked very strongly together and had strong results. I had a game with Katie where I got to a 17 center board top, could have easily sold that board, and I chose not to because I wanted her to get points. And she remembered that, right? Like I could have soloed a board. I literally chose not to. That reputation carries, right? And at least I hope it carries. So I'm not going to deflect attention. I can't deflect attention. Everyone on this board knows me. Everyone on this board's played with me, except Brandon, interestingly. So instead, I'm just going to be honest. Like, you know, I'm a good partner. I'm probably going to be very honest. Like, I'm sometimes a good partner to a fault, in that I can allow my allies to get into a good position over me. Maybe they can take advantage of that. But I'm just going to say, you know, probably what I'm going to do is just go to somebody and be like, hey, why don't the two of us work together, get into a position where we know one of the two of us is going to win this board, you know, and then at the end, we can figure out between the two of us which one that's going to be, probably by deciding, you know, who can get the edge on the other, right? But trying to beat one person is easier than trying to beat 6.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen a board this stacked in the, I think, 18 months I've been doing this. The play is outstanding. You're basically all virtual face-to-face players. Jason, I know, played regular face-to-face. Brandon has played with us, but he's the DBN kind of personality, and the other 5, I think we've met through this. So I can't say I've ever looked forward to a board as much as this one. If you have to kind of draw back on those top board experiences, what are you gonna use to, you know, build off of previous performances to make this be, you know, the big one for you?
Yeah. I think for me, something I've learned from top boards, from a few top boards, is that the play is different. In preliminary rounds of any kind of tournament, any kind of setting that has preliminary rounds, you can go the distance with someone, right? You can go the distance with someone, have a good friendship, and make that work. You can't do that here. You cannot go the distance with someone. One person's going to win. And where I've made mistakes in previous top boards is being too trusting and allowing myself to get into positions where I'm overextended and my partner has a stab they can make on me. And they'd be silly not to, right? I mean, I think back to 2 top boards I've had, one, both where I was playing France, obviously, and yeah, a English army ends up in Paris. And why does it happen? It's because all of my fleets are in the Med and all my armies are east of Germany. And of course, why wouldn't England stab me there? So I think for me, it's remembering that I like to play a high tempo play. I like to press forward with advantage when I can, but I need to make sure that I leave enough forces in a position to defend myself to at least say like, hey, if you're going to stab me, you're going to get 1 center off of me, and then I'm going to swing around, and then we're both going to lose because we're fighting each other while the rest of the board grows, right? And that's kind of the best deterrent I can have against someone, is to say, you can stab me, but it's not going to be worth your while. And trying to balance like positioning for growth and positioning for defense. If I was better at that, maybe I would have. If I was better at that, maybe I would have won a top board by now. But I'm still working on it.
Well, for as many chances as you've had, that's as many more than I've ever played on. So I am very happy to always watch you on these, and certainly rooting for you in this top board, and looking forward to hopefully another interview. Although it'll be Sunday afternoon for you, and it'll be wee into the hours for me. So the rules will be certainly reversed from the start of the game.
Right.
All right. Best of luck, Farron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that streak may never end, according to our game's GM, Zach Moore, in the comments. Ed Sullivan had a similar streak. He had made all of his until he failed to return to the most recent VDL championship. So I think that's where the rivalry comes in. Ed mentioned he wanted us to talk about him and Farron, but he didn't say anything, and Farron didn't either. A blank slate is what it's going to take to win this championship. So the next person we're going to have on needs no introduction, so I'm just going to bring it to you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have been Massbaum in this year's DBNI Grand Final. I'm lucky to be here today with, I think coming in, you were the 7th seed and made it all the way up to the 4th on the final board. Is that right, Jason?
Yep, that's right. I was briefly, fleetingly first, but you know, when you jump up in the early round, people know what they're shooting for.
That was going to be my question. Let's talk about those opening rounds, because compared to last year when you were an alternate and subbed in and had a chance and then got to round 2 because of another opening. You had a chance to get in, but needed a big result in round 2. This year, you took care of that on the first board.
Yep. So I've been talking with him, for a lot of the game. Let's do a monster shared board top, shooting for like 90, 100 points. But I mean, as everybody saw, like, that move, like when that move from Piedmont to Marseille, and I saw I could jump up, 4 dots in one turn. I just had to take it.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference between worrying, seeing people struggle and flip back and forth. You got to go into your round 2 game playing Kingmaker a little bit. What was your strategy in round 2?
So my strategy for round 2 was, let's just survive and get 30, 40 points, which, as we saw, did not exactly work out. Going in, I figured if I had just even like 30, 40, 50 points, I'd probably be secure for first place. Had a little bit of heartburn, like watching everything, like, oh God, am I going to get knocked down to like 8th place by 1 point again, like happened last year. Realized that couldn't happen. Still could have had, 7th seed, like 6th or 7th seed realistically, I think. But yeah, I mean, really, it was just a lesson. If you see like a big early opportunity, just secure your slot in a tournament, just go for it. Instead of taking a smaller one and just leaving it to, chance on round 2 that you get a good board seed and get the score you need.
So with that in the past, and we're heading to Saturday, what is going to be your breakfast of champions before heading to the big board?
Probably just, do up a bunch of eggs, right? Like have my cup of coffee, maybe try to get a walk in because I think it's going to start at 11 Pacific.
I think so, yeah.
So get some sunlight before locking myself in my apartment all day.
Yeah, well, and locking yourself in all day after seeing some of these other boards and the players on those other boards. We did a little research. Our stat team found out that of all of the players on there, you and Ed have the most appearances against the others on the top board. You've seen these players 32 times, maybe not that many boards because you might have had a couple with 3 or 4 on them. These players. What are you looking forward to in a rematch against some of them?
So I think it's going to be a lot of interesting dynamics between all the players on the board. I'm going to be picking middle, right? So which will assuming that everybody picks, in seed order. So what I'm really looking forward to, and what I know I'm going to have to try to navigate, is that there's going to be a lot of interesting, interplayer dynamics on this board. And I think it's going to be sink or swim based on who can successfully navigate the relationships on this board.
Kind of a last thought is what's going to be your key to victory? If things go your way, it's going to be because of what?
I mean, I think it's what I just said. I don't want to. I think it's going to be easy to lose this top board if you wind up drawing the short straw on one side of the board. And I think winning is going to be okay. How do I not draw the short straw, or how do I play some of these dynamics off of each other to give myself an opening that nobody's really worried about me to get the big result. I think that's going to be true for everybody. It's going to be, again, who can do the best job of doing that.
Yep. Well, heading into it, you are the senior statesman on the board. Most of the players are virtual only. I think you and Brandon might be the only ones who have competed in a face-to-face, and you've got seniority on him. So take that as your advantage into the top board, and we look forward to a chance to maybe seeing you after in the winner's circle.
I hope so. I know Katie and Ed were at Carnage, so they have at least one face-to-face.
That's true. I forget about that. I've been locked in for so long, but all right, prior to pandemic. So you're still you can't let you off the hooks. You're still the you're the senior statesman on the board. So we will use that throughout the broadcast. So good luck, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Yep. It's always great talking to Jason. I can remember playing him at one of my first travel tournaments as well. So we look forward to face-to-face diplomacy in the near future. But until then, we are going to go with this year's virtual champion for the next interview.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Excellent. So you had a tough route through your first game, and then had the longest virtual face-to-face game in my memory to get to the Super 7. What was it like getting through those 2 games?
So just generally, it was hell, the second game. 11 hours of diplomacy. It was really hard in the end. So I'm going to come back on it. But basically, at the end, I was saying, Sarin, can you double check my orders? Like, I'm doing that, and that, because I was just too tired to be sure that it made sense. And it came, like, we needed like 15 years to start working together properly. But in the end, we had the same interest. We could make the top board, both of us, so we worked for it.
Well, that was going to be my next question is, since you're now thinking about this weekend, who do you want to avoid being next to? You have a high choice if you so choose where to pick. Are you going to pick the power or pick the player?
Pick the pose. There's something Nicola Sergey again told me before my first top board with the VDL. He told me, this board, they never play out the way you expect them to play. So I'm going to pick a power I'm comfortable with, and then let's see what happens. I don't think you should play afraid. Like Ben played afraid in his VDL final, and I think that's cost him the game. I'm not going to be afraid of anybody, and if 2 or 3 players rush on me, then that's life. It happens, but I'd rather take a country I'm comfortable with than like calculating who may be where and then just falling apart.
Excellent. So prior to the big game, what is going to be your pregame meal?
That's a good question, actually. I think pasta is the food of choice, to be fair, and yeah, try to hold the 8 hours or 7 hours long game with, I don't know, like a chocolate bar or something. Try to survive through the night.
And this game will be kicking off at 8 p.m. Your time, so you'll definitely need some coffee.
Yeah, like that's going to be an issue because, like, depending on where I'm going to find a place to play, I'm not sure I'm going to have a coffee machine. Maybe I bring it anyway wherever I go to play. So let's see.
So big picture, you've had a fantastic run from let's say the second half of 2021 all the way through making it to the Super 7. We were trying to think of previous successes of diplomacy players. Doug Moore won both World DipCon in 2017 and the North American DipCon a few months later. What would it feel like to be in the company of legends who have won? I would consider VDL and the DBNI as major of championships as you can get. What would it feel like to be up on that level?
I don't think I would be up on that level because I think Doug Moore, as far as I know, he has won several world championships, and he's the guy you listen when you want to learn to play out Germany, how to play Germany, sorry, for example. So I wouldn't put myself on that kind of level still. Like, that would be great, of course, to win the whole tournament, but I'm still far away from it. It's one chance out of 7. And I think I'm going to get a bit of a target on my back here. So really not sure, of course, of winning. But if I would, that would be great for me. I would be super happy playing this game to win. But I really don't think I'm at the level of Doug Moore or Peter McNamara or Andrew Goff or Nicola Sergey. Once again, I've played one game with Andrew. I think he has an understanding of the game. Maybe I'm never going to have it. So I'm not at that level of play yet. I hope I reach it someday, but right now I'm going to try to stay humble and say, well, winning games is great, but you're always dependent on what the other guys are playing. When you play with guys like Andrew, like Nicola Sergey, you have the impression that they understand what everybody else on the board is doing. And I'm far from understanding that at that level. As advocate, as you could witness with my misunderstanding of what Christian Brown would do, with my stab. So that was a perfect example.
Well, you have had a fantastic season, and congratulations for making this Super 7. We wish you the best of luck on Saturday night for you, and maybe look forward to seeing you in the winner's circle.
Sure, I hope so, definitely. And if not, well, it would have been a good run anyway.
Bonne chance, mon ami.
Thank you.
Nicola has been fantastic to speak with over the last few weeks because we've seen him a lot. Probably the only one on this top board who has more credentials going into this final game is number 1 seed coming in 6th on the top board, but Sarin Quoi has played a fantastic season. So don't forget to join us right after this interview over on the other video link where the top board will be broadcast. We look forward to seeing you then, but please give Sarin a good look here. She's certainly a favorite going into the top board. And fantastic. We are here with coming into the DBNI number 1 seed, but for the grand final, number 6. Welcome, Sarin.
Thanks, Kevin.
You had some interesting and talked about games this past weekend. The first of which drew the ire of a lot of DBN personalities, and the second might have been the most epic game we have ever covered. Give us a little rundown of what you thought of your games that got you here.
Yeah, so going into the tournament, I had a pretty clear plan, and that plan was to get either a shared top or a second place in both games and qualify for the top board that way. I thought it would be a bit miraculous if I was like allowed to live on either board at all, honestly. So it was quite a pleasant surprise that the plan actually went according to plan in the first game. And then in the second game, it was going to plan, and I had a thing going with Nicola Sergey, but I got paranoid, made one of the really, like, I think worst decisions I've ever made on a diplomacy board, stabbed him for basically no reason, and almost died before had a just as equally miraculous end of the game.
You had to have been holding your breath when you were, I mean, you were 2 units spread out, were basically dead to rights if Italy would have attacked, but you did some miraculous diplomacy, I assume. Is that how you survived?
I don't think there was really any miraculous diplomacy. Like, I think part of it was like mostly just like, Johnny genuinely being like very nice about it and like believing that I was sincere and like haven't given up, because like I had given up at that point. Like I really just wanted to survive and like not earn worst France. So yeah, but a couple things happened and got quite lucky with what happened between Nicola and Robert.
So you're on the top board. What is going to be your pregame meal in order to survive, hopefully not another 1923 game?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it at all. But like, the one thing I do during all of these games is drink a lot of water. I always have a full water bottle and refill it every season. So I think that's the number one thing, because otherwise your throat just...
Yeah, stay hydrated and staying awake. So we've got a 7 p.m. start time for you locally, I think. So hopefully you won't be playing too late into the morning again. So
yeah.
So coming in, I was lucky enough to interview you on the first time. The way to win this was budget Ed Sullivan. With the Paris method, usually the Western powers go first. You're number 6, he's number 7. It might switch around, but we don't know. But if you're stuck with him in the East, how do you budget Ed Sullivan to possibly win this?
It depends a lot on who is in the East. So I think my strategy on the top board, actually, Kevin, is going to be very different from the way I got here and the way I got into this tournament in the first place. So my current thought, and this is something I'm still holding to, is that I'm going to like retire or take quite a long break after this DBNI. And so because of that, I feel ready to be quite frank on this broadcast regarding my plans, as I never have been in the past. And what I think about this game is that for the very first time, I'm going to be going onto the top board as the villain, and nothing I say is going to really be able to change that. I was the hero in Summer Classic. I was kind of the hero in Tour of Britain. I've always been like kind of like a hero in the survivor sense in all these tournaments. And now in DBNI, I'm going to be a villain, and that's really a style I'm not used to knowing how to play. But I don't think it rules me out, because Peter McNamara went on as you know, a villain and won, but it's a very different style from what I'm used to, and either I'm going to learn quickly how to play it, or things aren't going to go so well for me.
After watching last weekend's game, it's hard to believe there's not a single situation that you can't adapt to. So I look forward to watching the game. All these have been great so far, and we wish you best of luck, and we'll see you hopefully in the winner's circle.
Thanks, Kevin.
And thank you to all of our players, 1 through 28, through this great tournament, sitting down the time to take with us. We are just getting ready to start. We're going to send you away with a little fun we had with the players. Thank you for watching this, and we look forward to seeing you on the main broadcast.
Just ask me anything. I'm ready to go.
No one's going to see these full interviews. They're just going to get the parts that I cut. So give me your intro.
Sure. Hi, I'm Karthik Kanath. I am from California. And what did I say other than that?
All right. So first is give me an intro. Tell me about yourself.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Describe your diplomacy play in 3 words.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 3 word. Give me a second.
Your name and location.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Okay, I got it.
I'm not even looking at the clock because I don't care. So your love for DBN.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Next is describe your diplomacy play in 3 words.
Sorry, wait. I was trying to think of what. I was just thinking about the dramatic. You were just do it again.
You won't support me next time we're on a game board together?
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Let me say it. Let me say that again.
You want Brandon to disable your access this weekend?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
People describe my diplomacy style as ruthless, compassionate, pragmatist.
Oh, now my internet cut out. So I don't know if that recorded. Okay, let me. All right, third time's a charm.
It is the most important tournament of the year. It is the equivalent in my mind of the World Championship. It's the only reason I play in all the other. I played in all the other tournaments. Can we start again? Because I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
Right. All right. I'm just it's the sun setting and the lighting is changing, so I just moved that light around.
Very good. Let's see, what else can I do? Zach Moore is going to put Eddie Brissan's face superimposed on your head the entire weekend. Okay, Alex.
You may have to find me.
All right, go.
I'm universally known for my diplomatic style of being a ruthless and compassionate pragmatist.
Boom. That was perfect.